Turner Yell makes the stop in the secondary for Denver. 1st and 10. The fake. Good block in there, and down it goes. Caught at the 30. This is the dynamic Hill. He's in for 6. Tyreek Hill. Touchdown. What a block.
Take into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be fucking sour. Take a cold shower. Scream until you're louder. Work until you're prouder. And all the doubters, they're just your downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm off, it's these fucking clowns who were all taught they deserve it now. It's only worth it if you work for it.
What is happening, Dolphins fans? And welcome to another episode of the Fins Tailgate, Capitan Daytime Edition. So, Dolphins fans reeling from the loss against the embarrassing loss, the despicable display from a beatdown against a team that, has the MVP, that is, going to make noise in the playoffs, that very well may win the Super Bowl. But questions circling the fan base about this team right now. Yeah, we have injuries, but injuries are not an excuse. It's next man up mentality, and if you don't have that mentality, you're a terrible football team. That's a fact. But questions are starting to mount about outcomes, about the quarterback, about the coach, about the GM. I don't know what people would have to blame on Chris Grier. I know there's plenty of people that blame him, but I don't know, man. I've got a problem with blaming Chris Grier. He put together this He put together this team. They had problems with the last coach. They switch up and they hire another coach. Typically, when you switch up and fire a coach, especially the way it ended with Brian Flores, the next guy coming in is not worth his salt. But that's not what happened, is it? We got Mike McDaniel, and he turned around this offense. We got one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL since he turned around. And a lot of people say that's because of Tua. Or is it because of Mike McDaniel? I don't know. But this is a time, I don't want to say it's time for panic, but it's time for reflection. It's time for understanding. It's time. I got KP and Lou in the back. I'm going to bring the boys up. What's up, KP? What up, Lou? Show contributors in the show. What's going on, boys?
Morning.
What's going on, Cap?
So it really is coming down to so many narratives on this last game here. Last week's game against the Ravens, I said it in my last episode, statement game. And the statement was made. The Dolphins can't compete with the likes of the Ravens. That's the statement I heard. The Dolphins offensively, defensively, special teams can't compete with a team like that. Did they not show up? No, they definitely didn't show up. They didn't show up at all. There's a lot to be upset and angry about. Dolphins fans have a lot. Here's the weird part, right? It's not so much a loss, is it? It's not a loss. It's because I think all of us could have lived with losing to the Lamar Jackson MVP season Ravens. We could have dealt with that. It's the fact that we got obliterated. Got a 50-burger put up on us. The offense just didn't do it. A lot of super tight throws, a lot of first reads, a lot of, small little windows trying to fit it in there. Running game was good. Devon Achane showed up. That man had, 130 yards, all-purpose yards, something like that, 140? He was the entire offense. Tell me, boys, are we in trouble?
KP, I'll let you go first, homie.
Man, listen, like we were talking about earlier, man. It's a head scratcher at this point because you see the growth, you see the good things in Tua when we face those, mediocre, substandard opponents, right? He obviously has mastered this one read system. His ability to make throws, top-notch throws. It was there even in this last Ravens game. I mean, that fourth down conversion to Tyreek, the touchdown that Tyreek dropped, and even the dime he dropped to Claypool are evidence that we have a quarterback confident in the system that we run. All right. And he can execute that system. I think the problem becomes when the superior teams, the good defenses, mask what they're doing and force us into more of a read and react traditional pro style system. And I think consistently that's where we're seeing the disconnect with Tua. He can't make that jump into becoming a more traditional read and react quarterback, a guy who can go ad hoc and make plays like we saw Lamar Jackson make against us in this game, right? And so, I'll leave it there at this point. I don't want to put the entire game on Tua's back because ultimately the defense failed to stop Baltimore at any substantive moment. But you would like a quarterback. You would like to have a guy who could win you a shootout or at least make you competitive in a shootout. I mean, Dan Marino, right, didn't bring us a Super Bowl. And, although he led us to playoffs multiple times and deep in the playoffs at that, but you never really saw Dan Marino get totally shut out that way. Even in the losses, Marino was competitive, and there was no doubt that he was going to gunsling and give us a chance in those games, right?
Would you say he elevated his team?
Absolutely. I mean, he made guys like Fred Banks legitimate receivers. I had no shot against Fred Banks, who's probably a very talented guy, right? But he made any receiver who's on the field a legitimate weapon and target because he was going to hit who was ever open. He was going to spread the ball around, and he was going to attack the defense wherever they were weak. He is like the ultimate predator at quarterback, right? Seeking out their, soft spots and exploiting them to the best of his ability. Sometimes he took too many chances. Sometimes he got the ball intercepted, but you can live with a loss when you know you got that guy in that kind of a mode on a regular basis. Is Tua that guy going forward?
Well,
I know that question causes a lot of controversy in this community, but
Well, that's a bit of the problem, isn't it? It's year 4, and we still don't have certainty on that guy. We're going to be coming up to his 5th-year option. I mean, at some point in the season, for much of this season, I would say, Dolphins fans, myself included, was signing that check, bro. And that's the thing we got to understand. The check that comes to Tua is, give or take 10, 20 million. It's going to be around $200 million, okay? Either north of 200 or just south of 200. It's going to be the future of the Dolphins for the next 4 to 5 years. Is he the future of the Dolphins?
You're giving him the
4 to 5 years. You're giving keys. You're giving him the entirety of the kingdom.
That's right.
You're giving him the entirety of the kingdom. We are going to hitch our wagons to someone this year or next. I was hoping it would be this offseason, and it's very well still may be, because that's how you can now manipulate in that 5th year and maneuver some of the money to keep this talented roster we have. We have, 16 guys that play meaningful football that are all impending free agents coming up? I think it's 16 guys, from the likes of Christian Wilkins to Andrew Van Ginkel to, Deshaun Elliott. All up and down this roster are guys we need to re-sign. And we're not going to be able to afford to re-sign most of them once you start paying quarterbacks. And that's the thing. And when you take a literal level, right, you're trying to create liquidity. You're trying to have balance in your budget. Well, when you pay a quarterback, you allot a hefty amount of your budget to that one position. And that has to come out somewhere. Where does it start coming out? It starts coming out in the skill position. The backup guys. The guys you're making starters. Look, if you were if this was 2 years ago, we would have never made that Bradley Chubb trade. We would have signed Andrew Van Ginkel, and I love Andrew Van Ginkel, but that's the difference you're going to have an Andrew Van Ginkel or an off-season or a mid-season addition Bradley Chubb. You can't do that stuff. You can't get Bradley Chubbs no more. And say what you will after his injury, Bradley Chubb was having his best year. He had 11 sacks on the year. He was killing it. He was killing it.
Yeah.
And those are the impact players on defense or on offense. You ain't getting no Ramsey in a trade. You're not doing that stuff. You can't.
Right.
You got to balance your checkbook and then make your moves. We did that. And it was within mind that Tua is the guy.
Yeah.
I'm worried. Lou, go ahead.
It's for me, it's tough. But it's comments like this is where I get confused, right? Well, not so much confused, but this is where the problem lies, for me at least. See, slide rule. Tua has played a top 5 quarterback play. That's a franchise quarterback. I would tend to agree with that, right? For the overall season. The problem I have, though, is in the game against Baltimore or Buffalo week 4, against the Philadelphia Eagles, against the Kansas City Chiefs, and now against the Baltimore Ravens. Tua didn't play at a top 5 quarterback level. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's the problem for me. Do I need a guy that's going to be a top 5 quarterback against the Carolina Panthers? No, I think I can win those games with a top 15 quarterback. You see what I'm saying? I think I can beat the New England Patriots with a top 15 quarterback. When you need your top 5 quarterback play, though, in the games like Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening coming up in Buffalo, that's when I need Tua to be a player of that caliber, that we're all sitting saying, yeah, we got our, to KP's point, when Dan Marino, right, going into whatever game, we knew we had a chance because we had that guy. And for me, I just don't know how you guys feel about it, but I don't know. From what we've seen, a sample size now, Cap, you said it, 4 years. We've seen Tua do a lot of good in this league, and he's improved, right? I think none of us up here would deny he has gotten better. Even this year, he has taken strides where he has gotten better from last year. But the fact remains, in the moments when you need that guy, when you need to say, this is my guy that's going to lead us into a game, he folds, man. There's no other way around it. And I get, yes, there was touchdowns dropped and stuff. Okay, cool. Everybody wants to say Claypool's touchdown. We scored a touchdown on that drive anyway. So I don't know where people say, and even so, let's say we score an extra 14 points. So we don't lose by 38, we lose by 28. Like, what's the difference? Like, well, I don't get it. It just, Cap,
we talk about having a respectable game put together. It was non-respectable with a score of 19, bro. That's the
Absolutely.
thing. Like, you tell me the Dolphins lose 50-something to 38 or something. Yeah, we still got our beat by 2 scores, but at least we would have some respectability. Getting beat like that, I mean, dude, we got walked, bro. We got obliterated on both sides of the ball. And the problem I have here is that the defense did a lot these last couple of weeks. They did a lot against Dallas. They did a lot. They did everything against. I mean, dude, the offense did nothing, and the defense did everything in that Titans game.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? We can't have an offense where we're going to pay a quarterback $50 million a year, give or take, and get our door get the shit beat out of us.
Be non-competitive, right?
We can't do that.
If you go look back at the game flow, right? I mean, we score first, right? A brilliant drive. Everything was working, like clockwork. I mean, that outlet pass to our fullback, Ingold, that was, I saw a Tua in full control of what this offense could and could not do, checking down, making the right decisions. And it was a highly efficient, beautiful drive, opening a touchdown, right? Then Baltimore comes back, right, ties the game. We have a second drive, which is almost as good. It doesn't end in a touchdown. We get the field goal when Tyreek drops the ball, right?
Yeah.
And then Baltimore scores, and they go up 14-10, right? We come back for a third drive. And I think this is where the rubber meets the road. You see that we have a young coach in McDaniel who's ultra aggressive and is going to demand that the quarterback be equally in tune with what the game flow demanded at that time, right? And ultimately, from that point on, we saw an inability to convert the offense at the level we saw in those first two drives. So I don't know. I mean, is it a coaching thing? Is McDaniel asking too much of Tua in those big moments against big teams, or is the issue with Tua once the defense, changes or reacts or masks what they're doing? I don't know. I don't know. We got to look at the way the demands that McDaniel is asking of Tua in certain moments. Is he setting him up for success?
Well,
Absolutely.
KP, at certain moments, KP, you got to do more from a quarterback position. There's that interception that Tua threw. He threw it into a million people around Tyreek while he
didn't see Roquan on the first one. I mean, he was going.
I got that. Listen, that was just a great play by the defense, but that one of the interceptions where he threw it into like quadruple coverage, right? We had Achane wide open in the flat with running room after the ball. But here's the thing, right? I'm not mad about him taking the throw. I'm mad about the interception and it not getting there. That's what I'm mad about, because it's that type of aggressive type of throw that quarterbacks say, I'm great. It's the sign of franchise quarterbacks. But it's obvious he stared him down. He didn't look away. He wasn't looking at the options and then throw it there and dart it in there. He stared it down, and that allowed the linebacker to get deep on it. You know what I'm saying? There's gotta be a better way to go about this, because it's those types of throws and completions that make us not have this conversation. That's the deal.
Well, that was the second interception you're talking about, Cap. But see, on the second interception, I could care less about that interception, if I'm going to be honest. Because it really, I think it was only, and I got to go back because I just heard you say about Achane maybe in the flat. Maybe he did leak out and I didn't see it. But it was a two-man route. And both receivers, if you look at it, they're in the same area. So I don't know where the communication was. But either way, in a quarterback making a kind of throw like that, that's just a gunslinger. I can live with that one. But what KP was talking about, like the first one where Roquan Smith, he didn't see Roquan Smith, and that's fine. The fact is, Tua never looked anywhere else. He locked into one receiver. And that's what the problem is. I don't want to say that Tua is a one-read quarterback because I've seen him make reads, right? But it just seems in the pressure moments when the lights are the brightest, we've always talked about it, especially I have. It seems like Tua's mechanics break down, right? And that's what gets him in trouble, because I can't blame a coach, right? Like, I can't blame a play call when Tua is locked in on the receiver and Roquan jumps the route. Cool, that's fine. But backside, look at the seam, Durham Smythe, that you've been hitting all game. KP just told you
all game, bro. He was open all game.
And KP just said it. He's been Tua in the first half was doing a great job hitting him. But then all of a sudden, 2-minute warning, we're rushing to the line. The mechanics break down from Tua, and that's what KP's talking about, right?
Yeah.
Tua's made improvements, but maybe the subtle adjustments of holding the ball a little bit longer, maybe extending the play, moving your eyes to see what's available to you. That's where Tua seems to get in the trouble he finds himself in, right? And then when the downfall comes, like after that first interception, everything changed. And I don't understand. Like, I come out here every week and I've been trying to be positive about Tua, and I still want to be positive. But the facts remain, bro, those are plays that can't happen, fellas. They just can't. He has to be better. And that's not a coaching issue. That's not a player issue. That's
Lou,
that's a Tua issue, man. I mean, it
to
is what it
further
is.
your point, Nightwolf makes a great statement here. He says, guys, it wasn't the interceptions that was the problem. Tua had bad errant throws on drives we needed to come away with points on. Passes that went high, passes that were behind guys. And against this Ravens defense, we know that they were going to play zone a lot, but they're great at dropping their linebackers, and they have the smallest of pockets to throw in. We saw the same thing happen against the Niners, who run a very similar quarterback system. Maybe not similar system in every way, but it's eerily similar. Let's call it what it is, guys. And you have to be perfect in your mechanics and perfect with your throws to not come away with interceptions or incompletions. And Nightwolf's dead on the money on that one. So I want to throw this stat out to you guys because heading into the Baltimore game, Miami Dolphins offense is number 1, right? Scoring 30.8 points a game on average throughout the season. But I'm gonna throw this stat at you. In the 5 opponents that we've played that have winning records, that is the Baltimore Ravens, that is the Dallas Cowboys, that is the Kansas City Chiefs, that is the Buffalo Bills, and I forget what other team it was. Oh, Philadelphia Eagles. Those 5 games, the Dolphins' offense has averaged 18.4 points per game in those games. So the stat of being the best offense with 30 points per game is inflated. We're talking about teams like the Commanders, the Jets twice.
Well,
you know
what
what I'm
really
saying? The
inflated
Giants, the Carolina Panthers,
the
Denver.
70 points against Denver is what really inflated it.
Yep,
That's
the Denver
what
game.
inflated that number.
Right. Yeah. Listen, the better teams are going to have more complicated defenses. Defenses that are more flexible, more elastic, ability to play, give you a number of different looks. And again, I think that's where the trouble comes in. Because when you look at Baltimore, how did they come out? They came out in a zone, soft zone, right? And they wanted to see what we're going to throw at them, and they couldn't stop us, and we ate that shit up for the first two and a half drives.
We were going sideline to sideline, and then getting guys in space and moving. We weren't trying to push the ball, and the run game was unstoppable.
Right. Exactly. And even the screen game. I mean, that was a beautiful early screen to A-Chain, right? I think it's when defensive coordinators start masking what they're doing, right? Dropping those linebackers, that's where Tua, I think, I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's a finished product yet. And so it begs the question, I mean, because you got to pay this guy soon, right? Do you believe he still has those next few steps to go to develop and evolve and become a more capable, competent quarterback in crunch time?
So
I do.
Well, here's the thing, Lou. Is there more meat on the bones for Tua to get better at this point in his career? 4th year in the NFL, years to come, about to get the bag. Is there improvement that we can expect?
That's what confuses me.
Well, expect. I don't know. I can't predict the future. I do think there's room for improvement. I'm not sitting here trying to say Tua's not a good quarterback. You can't win with him. I'm not saying he shouldn't be here. What my question, and it's been consistent, right? He's answered a lot of questions for me, right? Injuries, I'm not worried about them anymore. It happens to everybody. As you can see, look at our team. Everybody's getting hurt. It's not only a quarterback thing. It's not a Tua thing. He answered that box. All the throws, I'm not worried about that. I know he can make those throws. It's for me, it's when the moments come. It's when the bright lights, right? That's when you need to be at your best. I don't care what's around you. I don't care what the defense is doing to you. you need to perform because that's what the greats do, right? Like, I don't know why we always got to come out and we got to make a caveat. And, well, it was this play call and this offensive lineman might have not blocked here and this receiver dropped the pass. Those things happen in a
Those
game.
things are going to happen every game.
Absolutely.
Well, I would say
right?
this was a team loss. You know what I'm saying?
And Cap, absolutely.
I don't think anyone's going to push back on that. Yeah, it's not all on Tua. It's not.
It's definitely not all on Tua. Listen, the defense didn't get off the bus, right? We all understand that.
Yep.
But the defense don't play offense. And Tyreek Hill, that was chasing 2000s, he's a 1,700-yard receiver. He was out there on the field. They offense, Cap, you just said it, they scored 19 points. That's not good enough. And the guy that touches the ball on every play, it's not Coach McDaniel. It's not Devin A-Chain. It's Tua.
Right.
And he has to be better, man. So can he get better? Absolutely. Do I think he can or will get better? I would probably even say yes to that. But until he gets over the hump for me, and this is just my opinion, the hump over the big games, right? The biggest moments when you need what that slide rule said earlier, 10 minutes ago. He's playing at a top 5 level. When these 4 or 5 games that everybody knew him going into the game, those are the matchups. He didn't play at that level in those games. And that's when you really need him. You see what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Like, what are we talking about here? I don't get excited that Tua goes and beats the Jets. Hell, I seen Skylar Thompson beat the Jets last year. You see what I'm saying? Like, I've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick beat the Jets.
Yeah, Jets ain't scaring nobody.
Here? Nobody's scared of the Jets. Panthers.
Nobody's scared of the Commanders. The Panthers.
Commanders. Bro, like, come on. Let's stop
the Giants. New England. No one's scared of New England. They're one of the worst teams in the league.
As we have this discussion,
the Chargers.
I'm thinking of guys like Steve Young, right? Rich Gannon. Similar to Tua in the sense that they were not, physically imposing quarterbacks, right? And they struggled early on, right? Later on, I guess after, trial and error and putting in the plays, they became masters at what they did in terms of executing the offenses that they ran. But that came later on in their careers. I could definitely see that kind of development in Tua. But the problem we have is this team is built to win now. I mean, when are you going to assemble the kind of talent that we have on the roster now again? And then,
that goes to Chris Greer too. And like people want to blame Chris Greer about stuff, but look at this team. Look at this coaching staff he's put together, bro.
It's ready now.
It's ready now. It's ready now in the next 2 years. You see this question I put up here, Lou?
Well, it's not the question. I'm receiving text messages. Cat, someone wants in on the panel.
Oh, okay. I think I know who you're talking about. I will go ahead and send him via X the link. He can come join the conversation.
Business is about to pick up.
I'm gonna send it to him now.
On, let me go get my
I will say
bread.
this. Look at this question John puts up. Does Tua have the it factor? Simple question. Yes or no. He says, I don't see it. And, it's going to come down in certain games, especially when you're paying this guy to an it factor.
Well, listen, if you to answer his question, if you want to look at it in a vacuum, right? He wants a simple answer, right? In the 4 seasons thus far, the answer has to be no. Quantitatively no at this stage. That doesn't mean it cannot change, though, next year or in the future. And I think that's ultimately the question that Chris Greer and Dolphins management are going to have to contend with and deal with. I mean, like I said, the models are out there for a guy of his stature and skill set to become that guy down the line. But as of right now, we've seen him fail in crunch time in big games. That's been a regular feature of his career. So if we look at just these 4 seasons and just those moments, the Tennessee game this year and 2 years ago, the games that were outlined earlier by Cap, the Philadelphia, the Buffalo, if you objectively quantify those performances, you have to say that John is right. Not at this point.
Well, here's something I will
now
say.
that might get me branded a hater again, and I guess
I don't view Tua as a liability, as a guy who's losing us games.
Agreed.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's is he a guy elevating the play of the offense to win games,
giving us a chance to win those shootouts.
And this team is good all the way around. Granted, defense never got off the bus, as Lou says. Defense didn't show up, but that's against Lamar, and who's having an MVP season. So I understand us being. Listen. We can be the best regular season team and have all these stats, and early in the year just torch people. But it's all for naught if later in the season we fall apart and we get into the playoffs and we're a first round out. What good is it? What's it all for? All this window dressing. I'd rather Tua have 2,000 fucking passing yards and us on our way to the Super Bowl. You see what I'm saying? Like, what are we really putting value on, Dolphins fans? Are we putting value on stats and numbers and trash-talking teams that are in the fucking gutter? Or are we putting value on beating the best teams in the NFL, going to the playoffs, beating them again, and winning a damn Super Bowl? What is the value? What are we putting value on? I know where I got it. I don't care about stats. Stats mean jack all to me. I don't give a damn. I play defense. Stats are fuck all that bullshit. I want to win games. I want to break people's will. And that gets perpetrated on us Dolphins fans far too often. The better teams come in and impose their will on us.
And listen, I mean, even if you agree with what I said a little while ago or disagree, the fact remains that, I mean, this last game here in week 17 provides an opportunity to dispel this entire discussion, right? If Tua produces a gem, and we, defeat that Buffalo Bills team that is desperate to beat us coming this Sunday, then, this entire conversation is null and void. And, and then, John, you'll have to change your conclusion, buddy, But Tua needs to start building those feathers in his cap, man. He needs to build up the quality win cap. And start winning the games that matter, winning the big time games, prime time games. I mean, I guess Dallas would be a feather in that cap, you got to give credit where credit is due, but is that the only feather in that hat at this point? You need to start massing those kinds of victories and performances.
So we do have somebody that's going to join us for this conversation. I'm sure we'll get tons of pushback. Oh, look, is that Batman in the chat?
Batman, what's up?
Batman crawled out from underneath his rock. Hello, Batman. Good. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Ain't seen you in 3 weeks, but all right. Look at who we have. Look what the cat drug in.
Who's that?
Another dead body. Another dead carcass drug in by the cat.
I cannot listen. First and foremost, before we get into this, I want to wish each of you gentlemen a happy New Year. Right?
Thank you.
Nothing but blessings. Nothing but prosperity in 2024.
Thank you.
With that being said, right?
Change is coming.
Yeah. Listen, man, I didn't even know you guys were live, right? So I'm, doing my normal routine in the morning and, kind of getting my mind right, prep for the day, and click on YouTube and I see Cap is live right now. And I see the title on the thumbnail and I'm like, oh, snap, here we go. And all I'm hearing is just a bunch of hating nonsense this morning. And it makes me physically sick. I'm going to be honest. Listen, I got number love and respect for each and every one of you gentlemen, right? But y'all need to stop respectfully. Stop this foolishness, gentlemen. Please stop it.
I love how Ian puts together a respect sandwich to shit on people.
Right.
Continue, Ian. Continue with your shit.
Man. I mean, no. I'm trolling for the most part. Listen, to be honest with you, the conversation that y'all are having this morning, right? Cap, Lewis, KP, That's a legitimate concern. And I've been again, I might be a little more higher on Tua's long-term projection with this team than y'all are right now. But again, going back to 2020, I was the first one to really highlight this issue with Tua. Going back to Alabama, the receipts are there, the videos are there, but I do have to agree when the team needs that position, the guy at that position, to be the best version of himself, to help propel and kind of help his team get over the hump. It's unfortunate, but Tua just hasn't been. And again, going back to Alabama, it's not just as a member of the Miami Dolphins, right? Going back to Alabama, and again, a lot of people say, well, EM, they used to try to make that argument 2 years ago, right? Well, Tua won a national title. I don't give Tua credit for that national title because he didn't start one game that year. He came into the fourth quarter and relieved Jalen Hurts and threw that touchdown pass to Devontae Smith. I don't give him credit for that. So when Tua has been the guy and he is, the QB1 in these big games, in these more pressurized games, pressurized moments, Tua more often than not, he just hasn't been the best version of himself. And that is a legitimate concern. However, my only issue, right, what I'm hearing from yesterday, and it's crazy. After every loss, it seemed like after every loss, when things go bad, right, we're having this conversation. But when things go good, when we win games, right, Tua's a guy. Tua's a franchise guy. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, bro, the up and down, the roller coaster.
I'm not going to say he didn't light somebody up when he lit up, the Jets or whomever. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to lie. You know what I'm saying? I see what I see. I make the assessment and then I say it. That's it. That's all you can do.
But you hear, the flip flopping in the roller coaster ride that people, a good portion of our fan base. I mean, you got people out here with platforms anointing the guy as the guy, right, and saying that they were wrong all along, yada yada. But then, as soon as one bad game comes up, he's trash. Let's blow it up. Let's trade him. Let's cut him. I'm like,
there ain't no flip flopping around here, dog.
That is ridiculous. And again, with Tua in this area, in this aspect, right. In this area of his game, there's a flaw there. There's a disconnect there. There is a weakness there, right? But here's the thing. Tua, like I heard Lewis earlier, when you posed a question, well, can he get better? Well, why would you sit here if you really evaluate his trajectory since 2020? He has gotten incrementally better. And from 2020 to 2021, then from 2021 to 2022, it was a significant leap. And I would make a case from 2022 to 2023, it was even a bigger leap, in my opinion. So as we're sitting here, we can highlight the deficiencies the areas of his game where he's deficient at. But again, in terms of long term, in terms of expectation of him getting better and developing that winning skill set, that winning mentality, because, I've been consistent. Learning how to win is a skill set, bro. Learning how to figure out in the moments, in these big games, whether it be playoffs games, Super Bowls, games to prepare to get your team into that. You got to learn. You got to figure that out. You got to learn how to win and be the best version of yourself. That is part of the developmental cycle, right? We've seen LeBron James do it. We've seen Peyton Manning do it. And again, I'm not putting Tua in that tier of impactful players in their respective sports. But at the end of the day, bro, learning how to win is a skill set. Just like developing arm strength,
We win plenty, bro. We win plenty. It's learning how to win against. Here's the deal.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Cap. That's what I'm saying, Cap. You got to learn. You got to be in those moments.
Defenses, and I think we're wrong. Talking about Tua's performance against the better defenses, you're not wrong in the aspect that, better defense. I think this pressure that Tua feels is keeping pace with the better offenses. That's the thing.
That's a possibility too.
When we can control what we can control, right? And we're running our game plan. Sometimes, especially against bad opponents, we're just lighting up the skies. We're lighting them up. We're exposing them all over the place. But when we're in a game not too dissimilar to the Dallas game, where we are staying maintained, we are staying, pace. It's a close game, but we're not getting off script. We're not trying to do too much, and we're grinding out a win. Now, that's all fine and dandy. But if a better offense comes in and they're putting up points and we're kicking the ball for field goals while they're scoring touchdowns, some point in that game you got to turn up and show out. And that's what we're not doing.
But Cap, you've got to learn how to do that, bro.
You have to. Why I gotta? How much longer I gotta wait for people to learn?
4 years, bro.
Every year. But
4 years.
But EM, this
that's
team
not
is
enough.
built now.
I
Teams that win the
understand.
Super Bowl win
Hey.
while a quarterback's not being paid.
Hey man, I get it. Listen, I would rather
Right.
him get up to speed sooner rather than later, just like everybody else. I want to win just like everybody else. I want to win just like you. But I
know you
understand.
do.
I keep it in perspective when you're talking about developmental stuff. Peyton Manning with 7 fucking years, bro, with that tag. Well, he can't win the big game. He's the best regular season quarterback we've ever seen. 7 fucking years before he got over the hump. And again, I hopefully it won't take no 7 years. Hopefully, please listen, sooner rather than later. But at the end of the day, I pose this question to everybody. If you have this level of reservation about him, what's the fuck in you're impatient to the point where you're not willing to wait and let the developmental cycle play out? Well, what's the fucking alternative?
Well,
What's
here's
the alternative?
Listen.
Well, EM, can this team wait out Tua's development? Sounds like you're pretty sure that he is on track to develop and become that guy, right? But
Is he not though? Based off his
Well,
trajectory, is he not though?
Let's say
as currently constructed,
let's say
can
it's 3
this
more
team
years. Let's say it's 3 more years while he's being paid. Who's on this team now that won't be on that team? I say
Right. This team doesn't look the same.
everybody. Everybody's gone.
Right.
You got to rebuild 2 perfect squads on both sides of the ball to find the time in which Tua's gonna be perfect. Because if
And that
not,
is a
then you're in
Herculean task.
so-
That's a
I mean,
Herculean
damn, you
task.
gotta rebuild the
of
roster.
What part of this team? What part of this offense is perfect? That's been perfect all year.
What
I mean,
part
we
of
had
any
what
team is
13
perfect?
O-line changes all year, the most in the NFL,
I'm not
right?
saying that.
Is that perfection?
No, but look at the talent we possess from
Okay,
the
you
start
got-
of this
you-
season.
listen,
From the
you
start
got-
of this season, and you're saying injuries are coming. That very well is already proving the point I'm trying to say, is that these injuries are coming, and now we're going to have to retool and hope it works out again and
That's
again
what-
and again.
But that's
and
what
again
every
to
team
hopefully
does, Cap.
to hopefully find the year that Tua is going to be there. He's going to be that.
Did Kansas City not hit the reset button at some point?
After
let
a
me
couple
pose-
Super Bowls, yeah. I mean,
Well, guess what?
let
Hey,
me
listen,
pose
man.
if we were
question.
doing this after
Listen.
a Super Bowl win, then I wouldn't give a shit. You know
Oh,
what I'm
okay. Well,
saying?
that's fine, and I get it. And I want to win again. I want to reiterate. I want to win the Super Bowl too. But at the end of the day, again, I'm hopeful that we can win. But at the end of the day, all we can do is put a team on the field and hope. Every team, and hope and pray that it's good enough to win it all. That's the
Well,
situation
let me-
every team is in. There's no
let-
guarantee
let
of
me-
winning
let me pose
a
this
Super
question.
Bowl.
Hold on, EM. Let me pose this question because listen, we got 120 in the room, right?
Hit the
and
like
I've been
button.
hit the like button, everybody, because we're about to unleash a bombshell right now, and I would love to hear
Perfect
everybody.
timing, Lou. Perfect
This
timing.
is great.
Lou.
This is great timing because I hear EM talking about. Well, we gotta wait and let Tua develop. Because I agree a lot with what EM is saying. I said it too. I do believe the trajectory. I do think Tua can get better. But this is the question, and it was posed yesterday to me on Twitter. We lose Sunday night to Buffalo. We lose wild card weekend, right?
Against Kansas City.
Unless whoever it is, right?
No, it'll be
When we're
Kansas
out-
City. We lose. We're facing Kansas
okay.
City. That's set in
Let's-
stone.
Perfect. Then we lose to Kansas City wild card weekend, right? Stephen Ross is the owner. You 3 gentlemen, right? And this is the way the question was posed to me. You 3 gentlemen are Chris Greer. Stephen Ross knocks out the office. He says, listen, this was, get all the injuries. I get everything that happened during the season. It's time for you to make a decision. I want one of these men out of here. It's Tua or McDaniel. Who you keeping? If that was the scenario and they posed the question, you can only have one, right? So we're talking about moving forward with this team. Are you keeping Tua getting rid of McDaniel, or are you keeping McDaniel and getting rid of Tua?
And before
I'm
you
gonna
answer,
put I'm gonna put this in the chat too, guys.
That's a
'cause I
tough
want
question
to know the
as of
bold
right
question.
now.
Exactly. Before you
I ain't gonna
answer, EM, consider how real this situation may be with Ross's age, number one, and then number two, given again the construction of the team as it stands and the viability of this team still being as potent in the future when Tua ultimately becomes that guy, right? That guy that we all want him to be. It's a
So,
difficult question.
so this is what I think, and again, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But
I don't
when
think
I
there is any wrong
assess,
answer here. Yeah.
when I assess, I hear y'all's point of view and other perspectives from different people in the fan base, right? There seems to be, the biggest concern is when you pay Tua, you won't be able to have those additional resources from a free agency standpoint to really properly support him and be as aggressive as we've been accustomed to over the last 4 years to put a team around him. Is that an accurate assessment of what you all's opinion is? Is that the
I would
biggest
suggest
concern?
that definitely is a concern given the way we've seen draft picks like Tyndall, Cam Smith not touch the field. Do we have the ability to continue to put a team around Tua that will be there for him when he becomes that guy? Yeah.
So again, no team is when you pay your quarterback or
100%
not
on the draft.
not your quarterbacks, but other high end players. Just because you pay top down to your quarterback, that don't mean you won't have big other resources available to pay and pay higher end guys at certain positions. But that's the reason why you got the draft, right? And again, for me personally, I'm not speaking for you all, but in terms of this issue, this long-term issue, if they pay Tua, can they properly supplement the roster enough to really be competitive and have a puncher's chance in a fight from a postseason standpoint? Absolutely. And it has nothing to do with Tua. It has nothing to do with Tua. Hang on, can I finish? Hang on, let me finish.
Yeah, I want the question to ask. God damn it.
I'll get to that. But it has nothing to do with Tua. It's all about the infrastructure in the front office that's been in place, that they have in place right now. Chris Greer, Marvin Allen, Reggie McKenzie, our scouting department. If you go off the trajectory of the last, I would say 2 to 3 drafts, the Dolphins have hit and they've proven, right, that they can go into the draft and identify and develop big time talent. They've proven that. Oh, look at the positivity, right? It's been taking us 25 to 30 years.
Turnaround. Look at Liam Eichenberg's turnaround just this season. I mean,
absolutely. So again, and I'm addressing the concern long term. As long as that infrastructure is in place, right? I'm more than confident they can continue to build the O-line. Look, they solved a 30-year riddle, right, that has been plaguing this freaking franchise for 30 plus years with the O-line. And they've done that in a year? So listen, the long-term concern in terms of having a team around him, that's not a Tua issue, right? That has nothing to do with Tua. We got the infrastructure in place to properly do that. So I think that's an overreaction to y'all. And again, but we'll see how that plays out. But y'all shouldn't have that level, in my opinion, right? You shouldn't have that high level of concern because they've proven it the last 3 to 4 years that they can go in the draft.
I would say they
really build this team.
I would say they solved 2 riddles if you want to be real, because outside of the last game, Dolphins defense has been great against the run too. Something that's been killing us for years.
Oh, 100%.
Never stopped the run.
100%.
So there's 2 riddles solved by this coaching staff. Now answer the question.
This is what I'm saying. Listen, we all get that. No one, and people in the chat, again, they're going in an uproar. I'm not posing this question. I thought it was kind of ridiculous when I heard it too. But this is the conversation that people are starting to have. And I'm just trying to play out the scenario. Because again, now we have 130 people in the room. I'm going to pose the question again. If the decision came down and they said one of these 2 gentlemen had to be on this team.
I don't know nothing about that.
I know you don't. Yeah, I know you don't.
I don't know nothing about that.
The fact of the matter is, moving forward, if the decision came down from whoever the owner is, because I see Anthony, well, they're selling owners and he's selling. Forget all that. The scenario is after this season, you lose to Buffalo, you lose to Kansas City, you're out in the wild card weekend with the expectations this season had upon us. We all up here know. Everybody in the chat, everybody in this that's a fan of this team understood what was at stake this season. If it's another wild card exit in the Tua or McDaniel, one stays, one goes. Where are we doing? What EM? I'll start with you. Again, you know, bro, you're my guy, right? I'm not gonna say the other word. You're my guy. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I respect your mind, right?
Yeah,
I respect your mind. Where do you go, bro? Do you give away a coach? Because again, everything you told me about Tua, right? And everybody, we all get it. This coach is the first coach. Everybody tells me you haven't found a quarterback since Dan Marino. Cool. Well, we haven't found a coach like this since Don Shula. This coach has also led us to back-to-back playoff seasons in the last 20 years, right? Like, what do you do, EM?
Shit, we secured a
keep
playoff spot
get
in
one.
week 16.
Well, a lot.
When's the last time the Dolphins could go the last 2 weeks knowing we're going to the playoffs? I can't remember a time 2 weeks of games are coming and we know we're in the playoffs.
And they both deserve credit, right? Tua deserves credit because he's the leader and he's played every game. He's helped us get to that spot. And Mike McDaniel is calling the plays, right? And everybody says Mike McDaniel was here to help Tua, which obviously he did. So they both have done great things. But if you had to, again, get rid of one, keep one, EM, who are you keeping? Who are you getting rid of?
Well, if that scenario of, can y'all hear me? Is my audio fine?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
So if that scenario plays out, Lou, like, you know, you got to provide a little more context on, you know, specific on how we lost those games. Is it more spotty play calling, inconsistent play calling? Is it, you know, we lose games because of, you know, bad clock management? These are all coaching issues, right? So you got to provide a little more. It's just not a black and white issue. Now, if Tua,
I'll give it to you. We lose the game against the Bills in Titans fashion, not in Baltimore fashion, in Titans fashion.
Damn, man.
And then we go to the playoffs and have the same showing against the Chiefs that we had earlier in the year. We lose in the Chiefs fashion in Germany. We lose to the Chiefs in Kansas
you know
City.
what though? I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna go ahead and answer the question, Lou. I generally, if you go back in history in any sport, when this dynamic comes up, because it has come up at times, right? Generally, teams opt to get rid of the coach because the players are at the end of the day, the players are the ones that have to execute. They're the ones on the field, on the court, etc. So,
Let's
you
not
know,
put
and
it above Chris
McDaniel
Greer.
hadn't
Chris
built
Greer
up
will
enough.
throw anyone and everyone under the bus. Remember that too. He'll throw anyone and everyone under the bus, and he ain't going nowhere. Chris Greer is Ross's guy. That is Ross's guy. He ain't going nowhere, bro.
So I look at McDaniel. I don't think McDaniel has built up, even though he's had this team in the playoffs back-to-back years. But I don't think McDaniel has built up enough equity in the league to the point where I'm going to ignore a highly productive player in this scenario. Now, if he was Andy Reid, if he had, you know, if he was more John Harbaugh, if he was Bill Belichick, etc., well, then that's a different conversation to have. But as of right now, if this scenario comes to fruition and there's a decision to be made in the offseason right now, this year, no, McDaniel hadn't established himself enough for me to ignore a player that has been as productive as Tua has been over the last 2 years.
So you don't see symmetry with the McVay comparison. McDaniel is not on the same level as a McVay when they dropped golf and went out and got
110%. 110%.
He's not McVay. He's less than McVay.
Point out, KP, with the McVay comparison.
Because they did trust McVay enough to go out and get Stafford. They got his guy and they got their Super Bowl.
110%. And keep in mind, he carried Jared Goff to the Super Bowl, right? They was in the playoffs like virtually every other year, right? Seriously contending. And then on top of that, he ultimately they busted through as a team and they got to the Super Bowl. So I mean that he had that equity established. His cachet was established. Jared, now again, and that to your point, KP, That's why they were like, well, no, he's done enough to really distinguish himself in this league. Well, we're going to opt to move. We're going to, give him the,
But we started this conversation by saying we've killed 2 generation-long narratives on this team. Fixing the O-line and having competent blocking schemes and execution, and fixing our ability to stop the run. And that's come under Mike McDaniel's tutelage.
Well, we were good against stopping the run under Flores as well, though. Now, we might not have been as productive maybe this year with Fangio, but I thought Brian Flores and really even Josh Boyer, they did fairly well in terms of
Charles
stopping the run.
Bradley says, he carried Goff, but McDaniel isn't carrying Tua.
Hey, okay. Well,
I mean, so here's what I'm gonna say.
Well, ask him how can he explain to me how the coaches how McDaniel is carrying Tua.
Here's what I would say in this situation, right? You get rid of Tua, there's backlash, right? There's going to be backlash. But is it equal to or more backlash to get rid of Mike McDaniel? Now just listen to me here for a second. Mike McDaniel, beloved by his players. They love this guy. Watch Hard Knocks. You're going to see it tonight. They love this guy. I don't feel like the team, anyone on this team, is losing their faith in Mike McDaniel. So to me, if the choice came down to Tua or Mike McDaniel, if they got rid of Mike McDaniel, you lose the team anyhow. It's only a matter of time for Tua to be off. The only choice that could be made would be something similar to what KP pointed out, is a quarterback exchange trade type of situation to keep Mike McDaniel. Because if you take Mike McDaniel out of this scenario, you lose this team. You lose this team. Whoever comes in, you got that rebuild year.
Are you sure about that? Are you 100% sure about that, Cap?
Who comes in right away and picks up with the ground run? Are they going to give it to Fangio?
No. In terms of the team loves Mike McDaniel, are you absolutely 100% certain about that?
Why are you implying something?
There's no
implying something that people are losing faith on Mike McDaniel.
There's no implication there, right?
Shit.
None. I am just asking. I'm posing a question. Are we for certain that everybody loves Mike McDaniel?
Well, I mean, not everybody loves. Does everybody love Tua?
Oh,
that's a fair question too. Yeah, that's fair as well. That's fair.
I mean, what are we talking about here? I know that there was players on this team back in the Flores regime that didn't have nice things to say about Tua, and it leaked to the media consistently.
And given the relationship that Tua had with Flores, you really got to look at who that next coach is going to be and his ability to maintain the kind of.
Well, who's going to want to be the coach that comes in that the quarterback's now gotten 2 coaches fired?
Right. I mean, he's going to have to talk to Tua in a special kind of way. He cannot be that traditional hard-nosed coach.
Not even. Well, you can't be too soft of a coach, because that's how the last one was. If Mike McDaniel loses his job, can't be the best friend, and he can't be the militant guy. So what are we going to do? Losing options.
My only point is, winning cures everything, and I know Mike McDaniel has gotten his team to the playoffs back-to-back years. I get it, but Crypto, one of the only points that he's ever made out of the 2 to 3 years that I've ever known Crypto, first and only time he's ever made sense, right? This statement he said about how McDaniel, as the coach, coming in as the coach of the Dolphins, he was starting on third base, right?
Yeah.
And listen, we shouldn't kind of overlook that, because if we recognize that, I'm sure the front office, Chris Greer, and the owner understands that as well, because your predecessor, right, had back-to-back winning seasons. And I understand what the opinion of Brian Flores is to a good portion of the fan base. I understand that. I don't agree. I don't subscribe to that, but I understand. But the fact of the matter is, he did have back-to-back winning seasons with a lot less talented roster at his disposal compared to this guy. So again, I know Chris Greer, and the owner, if things don't go the way they should, and then on top of that, in the midst of, our season, we're not meeting expectations, that McDaniel is falling short on his job, don't think that they're not going to sit there and present that, hey, bro, what, what's going on here? You inherited a winning team, a winning roster. Yeah, you did. You've had a positive effect in a lot of areas on the offense. We get that. But at the end of the day, this is a results-based business. This is whether you win or you lose. That is the focus in the NFL. That is the goal in the NFL. And if you're not, I don't give a fuck about you number one in this and number one in that and get this player to the MVP level, get this player to that. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I want to win. The objective is to win. And if you're not doing that, well, that conversation definitely needs to be had.
Let's pose a scenario. Okay, go ahead, Lou. Go ahead, Lou. Go ahead.
Well, no, I see the Back It Up Binge podcast has the quote of the day, because I completely agree with this when EM said winning cures everything. No. This is better said. Winning doesn't cure everything. It hides everything.
Wow.
And that's exactly right. Bro, when we win, all these flaws that we talk about when we lose, right? It's the coaching decisions. Oh, it's the linemen. Oh, it's the quarterback. Oh, no, winning hides
deficiencies.
It doesn't take away. It just, in the moment, everybody's happy because you won. But it doesn't take away the fact that there still are problems on this team. It hides it. I think that.
Well, first and foremost, no, I got to push back on that, bro. That's nonsense. Winning does. First off, perfection does not exist at this level in terms of personnel, front office, etc. Perfection doesn't exist here. So there's always going to be issues and problems on every freaking roster, bro.
But you must strive. You must strive to have perfection, though, EM.
I understand that. But so what winning does, you can say, well, it causes, it high. Call it what you want. At the end of the day, it cures, in my opinion, it cures all of those areas of that you're deficient on your roster, bro. Winning does that. There's no perfect rosters. There's no perfect situation. Winning cures that. Winning gets the focus off those deficient areas of your organization. So absolutely, winning cures all of that because there's no perfection doesn't exist at this level, bro. So that's nonsense. That's ridiculous.
Which begs the question, EM. I think your analogy is spot on considering the effect of the Dallas victory last week and what that did in terms of, making all of us Dolphins fans that much more confident going into these last two games, right? The Dallas Cowboys victory definitely had that effect. But if we take the microscope out, right, and we look a little deeper at these losses against quality teams, aside from that, if we throw out that Dallas a result, it's the nature of the quarterback play against those quality teams that is really what is gassing up and fueling this debate. I think we could all agree that we want to see, even if we lose all four of those additional games, right? Even if we lose the Buffalo still, we end up losing the Ravens still. But if we are more competitive at that quarterback position, if we're losing a shootout, right? I don't think we're having this discussion right now. I don't even think the question is relevant. And I think that's where the concern comes in. When we take that microscope out and we look at Tua's ability to read and react to top defenses in this league, I think we can all agree that there's some steps there that need to be had. There's some development yet that we need to see to put this entire conversation to bed. I mean, this conversation exists precisely because there's that doubt. That doubt is legit. Casual fans, expert fans, coaches on panels on ESPN, they're all pointing this out because it's evident and it's real. And we can't continue to just, mask it because we got to pay this guy or not. And this season or next season, and we can't afford to do the Tannehill thing all over again. We can't have another 7 years of mediocrity in this community on this team. Heck, the owner might not even survive another 7-year experiment on the quarterback, which is good. Which is where the urgency comes in with the question that was posed. So I'll rest there.
And you're right, KP. Again, like I said, bro, like I was trolling earlier when I initially came up here, but you know how we do, bro. You know how we troll each other, whatnot. But
and it is hypothetical. This is a hypothetical question, so it is not.
But
absolutely.
But this is a concern. And again, people want to make it to be about make it a Tua issue, and I understand Tua being a quarterback of our team, but this is a
Well, it was only
quarterback
because
issue.
of the posing of the question. Yeah, really. I don't want to make it. I'm sorry to cut you off, Ian, but I'm going to because I got to get this point out.
Go ahead.
I'm not trying to lay this all onto his feet, especially after that last loss. Listen, the whole team lost that game, right? The thing is, when we pose the scenario that Lou was talking about, you really got to start asking yourself some stuff. Now, Lou, we were on the phone before I even went live, and I told you, I've kind of just laid this entirety to rest. I feel like Tua, at least through the organization's eyes, is the future and will be the future for the foreseeable future. It seems to me that it is lock, stock, and barrel that the Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa show is what we're gonna get, and we're gonna retool pieces. Keep guys obviously like Phillips and Waddle. Those are building blocks for the next regime. You know what I'm saying, of players, and I feel comfortable enough with it compared to the teams I've had for the last 20 years. You feel me? With the coaching staff and the building blocks for the next retool. Oh, that will come in the next 3-4 years, whenever it comes. But Lewis's question, this scenario, this doomsday scenario, just absolute collapse from the Ravens loss, then following it at home to the Bills, then following it to the playoffs, and it looking eerily similar in those last 3 games. Stephen Ross could want to chop someone's head off. And that really is where it comes to at an impasse to where we have to make a decision. And to me, the decision is what's harder to find, a franchise quarterback or a franchise head coach? Well, right now, we don't have an answer on either one of these guys. So that's what makes this question so hard to answer. I don't know if Mike McDaniel's a franchise head coach. Maybe you're right, Ian. Maybe it is rubbing some of the people the wrong way. His nonchalant attitude, the hyped up jeans, they think it's stupid. The theatrics of it, I don't know. Tua, the limitations, the many chances, the building of the second regime to cater to him in a lot of ways. Do people have resentment for that? We've got, 90 people on this roster with the practice squad included and all that stuff. Not 90, but you get my point. And there's a lot of free-thinking minds in there. And how is that going to react? This is just it's a very interesting take.
Well, the fact that for me, right, when I think about the scenario, let's play it out. Let's say you choose Tua and you choose Tua, but you get rid of McDaniel. What kind of coach are you bringing in here for Tua? Because if you're telling me you're going to go get another McDaniel, what is the point, right? We've seen Tua, and again, I'm not saying that McDaniel made Tua. Tua has obviously improved, but McDaniel does deserve some credit in that, right? We've seen Tua under the other regime. He didn't look like what he looks like now, and I just don't, to get rid of a coach to bring in someone like the one you're just getting out of here, it don't make no sense to me. But let's just, and Cap, when we were talking earlier, I brought this guy up. I'm not saying I would want him, right? But let's say you got rid of Tua, and let's say you put in a guy like Kirk Cousins. Look at Tua's numbers.
Real quick, for that Kirk Cousins scenario, what if they trade Tua for Kirk Cousins and Tua ends up in Minnesota where Brian Flores is at? What? That would be crazy.
Well, could you imagine that? But I'm just saying, look at Tua's numbers, right, this season. And they're great numbers. I'm not taking that away. But Kirk Cousins gives you those same numbers, and he's been doing it for years now, right? So I'm just posing the question. If you took Tua out of this offense and you inserted a Kirk Cousins, do you think it would be a drop-off? Like, I mean, it's just honestly,
here's
to me, it would be the same.
Similar. Kirk Cousins has been doing what Tua did this year for years, and that's light up teams they're supposed to, and then later in the big moments year fall apart. Yep.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if that's the answer, dog. I don't need a different guy in there to do the same results I'm already getting.
But you know
what I'm saying?
No, and you know what though? Hey, let's be real. Like in terms of, and again, I'm in agreement with you guys about Tua needs to, he needs a little more big time wins under his resume. I understand that. But you look at the top guys in the league, other than Mahomes, other than, let me see someone else.
Well, no, Em, I know I get your point you're making.
This is a league-wide issue. Like,
you ain't
does
gotta
Josh
name 'em.
Allen beat the
Fine,
upper tier
but that's-
teams?
I would
Em,
agree.
I think we're all in
Does
agreement.
Dak
but
Prescott
we
beat
but
the upper
that's
tier
why-
teams every time?
That's why.
What-
That's why.
what
If Tua
animates-
is that guy,
Right.
he will be one of the very few able to do it.
What,
That's the thing, bro.
what energizes the question, right? What legitimizes the question is the fact that Ross reportedly, right? We heard those rumors, we heard those inklings that he wanted Lamar Jackson, right? And that they tried to move heaven and earth to get Burrow, right?
I mean, hell,
These
does
are two guys-
Lamar, real quick, KP, does Lamar win at the high, beat the, look at his playoff record, 1-5.
Lamar's going to be a
I mean-
two-time MVP, bro. You
Two-time
can't say
MVP,
that
though.
So,
shit, bro.
Right.
Again,
He's about to be a two-time MVP.
So
You can't
is
say
the
that.
objective to
MVP.
win the MVP or the objective to win a Super Bowl?
Super Bowl.
The
Okay,
Super Bowl
then.
is the
I
objective.
don't want to talk
but guess
about
what?
just like I don't want to talk
If-
about MVPs
if
with Tua. I don't
in
want
the
to talk. I don't want to hear about MVPs with
casual
Lamar.
I agree with that.
In the most casual of takes of all time, who's going to give you the best chance to win the Super Bowl? A quarterback or a two-time MVP quarterback?
Well, obviously, it's like Lamar again, 1-5 in the playoffs.
And if
He's
you
got
know-
one play. He's got
My
one
point is, if you
playoff
know
victory
Ross-
under his belt. One.
Right. Right,
Never
that's
gotten
a fact.
past to the second round.
That's a fact. And there's still questions about his
They're
accuracy and
getting to
everything.
the second round this
I'm
year.
sorry,
and they ain't
third
even
round.
gotta
I'm sorry
play
to the
first.
championship game. I'm sorry. He's
Okay.
gotten to the division. Obviously, he got up.
But
He's been. He's got one victory.
individualize it to our franchise and our owner, who is connected to those other two guys, right? He's seen these other two guys come in and set the league aflame. Now twice in Jackson, and then in Burrow, push deep into the playoffs, contend, at a high level, have those moments in the clutch. You know what I'm saying? I think that animates the question. That adds fuel to the question.
Well,
Mhm. Go ahead, Lou. Yeah.
And KP, I'm not saying I was advocating for Kirk Cousins. I was just throwing out, look at the numbers, right? And when this scenario plays out, I think you hit it spot on the head earlier, KP, with Sean McVay. Hell, you can even throw Kyle Shanahan in there. And again, I'm not trying to, it's going to come off wrong. There's no other way to say it. This system does help quarterbacks, though. Because Sean McVay, EM said it, he took Jared Goff to the Super Bowl. Then he got Matthew Stafford. He also took him to the Super Bowl.
Well, Lou,
Kyle Shanahan.
He's got Brock Purdy.
Lou.
Jimmy
That is
Garoppolo.
lightening up. Jimmy
Bro,
Garoppolo. Well, here's the thing, Lou,
Garoppolo
if I
goes to a
may.
Super Bowl. Brock
If I
Purdy
may,
in
Lou.
the NFC Championship game. It's not so much the
The
quarterback,
question,
it's more
the
system,
answer,
right?
the
But
answer.
guys-
Hold on a second, guys. The answer, so much isn't, who's the other quarterback in the NFL we can insert. Is it Mike McDaniel can point to a handful of quarterbacks coming in the
That's
draft
what I'm getting at,
Right.
Cap.
that he
Absolutely.
can. That's I knew it was. I'm trying to.
But
That's
before we
that's
go
the
there,
thing.
Cap.
So
before
what are
go
we
there,
saying here?
listen,
So are we
Well,
saying?
we're just listen. This is all hypotheticals, EM.
one-
None of
one
us
quick
here are ready
thing,
to
one
pull a
quick point.
plug onto it. Not
Yeah,
even a
we're-
little
we're
bit,
just-
bro.
We're just
It's all
McDaniel.
hypothetical.
Or
We're living in
McDaniel.
we're living in fantasy land. Go ahead,
Right.
KP.
And yet, if you do make the move and you get rid of McDaniel, Ross is only bringing in one guy, and that is none other than the Michigan guy himself, Jim
That's
Harbaugh.
true.
And that
And
begs the question,
he's
is
supposedly talking
Tua-
about being done.
right? And is Tua going to be a Harbaugh guy? I mean, I hate to extend it to that next level, but I think it would be almost a done deal that Harbaugh would be the next guy if you move on from McDaniel.
That's
Well,
true.
Well, more than likely, yeah, that's his guy. Well, if he don't accept a coaching job somewhere else, because he might be. I saw a report earlier that he's in the running for the Chargers job. I think it was Chargers job. I think.
Yeah,
But
I've seen that as well.
I want to kind of circle back to Lewis's point about the system, right? So what's the point? What are we saying about the system? In your opinion, Lewis, you feel like the system helps? It's kind of
Yeah,
It-
the
it
system
does- it does
absolutely helps.
Absolutely, it helps. And again,
it's an
I'm not
easier
trying-
format, is what you're saying, is what you think.
Again, bro, the proof is there, though, right? Like, and again, I'm not.
Well,
trying
here's
to
where
take
I
a-
would counter that.
But
Well, here
but
was-
I'm not
here-
trying to. I'm
Here's
not
where I
trying to
would
shit on
counter that
Tua.
argument, right, about the quote unquote system.
Yeah.
And this is not relative to you. There's a lot of people out here that trying to sell this narrative that the West Coast format is quote unquote an easier application than others, right? If that's the case, look, pay attention to the situation, what's going on in Denver. Pay attention to the situation, what's going on in Cleveland. You have got Russell Wilson, Super Bowl winning quarterback, multiple Pro Bowl guy. You've got Deshaun Watson, right? Top just 2 years ago, he was top 3, one of the most dynamic players at his respective position, right? But if the system now is dumbed down and more remedial than other formats in the league, why are those two guys regressing in this exact same system?
I'm not saying remedial, right? And again, look at the scenarios you brought up. Sean Payton, cool, I get it. And I'm talking about from a coaching perspective. Under this tree, right? Look at the guys, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, young Mike McDaniel. They were all been in the same system, coaching together and stuff. The proof is in the pudding. Sean McVay has won with multiple quarterbacks, led those teams to championships and Super Bowls. Same thing with Kyle Shanahan, multiple guys. Jimmy Garoppolo, Super Bowl winner. Brock Purdy last year, NFC Championship game. Look at Mike McDaniel now, a playoff appearance last year, this year. Obviously, that system, right, that tree that they're coming from, they've shown you over years that it doesn't matter. And again, I'm not trying to take
well,
a
Lou, you know what they've crafted, right? Well, hold on, you guys know what they've crafted, right? They've crafted a way to beat zone, and then you have talent to beat man. When those two things are matched with great zone play and talent against your talent, it's the quarterback that has to step up and do something. Ultimately, what the crazy like stat that comes into play on all this is that a lot of times that means your quarterback needs to run. And that's how you get them back in man or back in zone, whatever you want to exploit.
Not necessarily. Not
necessarily, but it is one of the best and easiest ways to then manipulate the defense. Because if they're going to play deep in zone and cover you, and your quarterback's going to run 6-7 yards for a first down, that destroys everything.
I hear you, and there's a lot of truth to that, but I also think the mobility aspect as well as the ability to push the football down the field, right?
That's right. You look extending at traditionally plays with your legs, so it's the same kind of concept.
Right. But if you look at the history of this system and the type stylistically, the quarterbacks that have been in this system, right, they generally aren't guys that have a vertical element to their passing, to their game, right? But you can't see, this is the argument, the counter that I provide for people when they make this narrative up about, they say the system is more, again, dumbed down and more watered down for Tua, right? I disagree. I got to push back on that in terms of.
I don't think it's dumbed down at all. If anything, I think it's highly more advanced.
Right. I didn't
absolutely.
say dumbed down.
I would say it's not dumbed down. I would say, if anything, it's probably of the conception of this offense. This Miami Dolphins version of it is the most highly advanced version ever 100%. Created. Because the pre-snap motions, all the different things you have, every skill position from your tight end to your fullback to your wide receivers to your running backs, all the motions, movement, pre-snap stuff, it is the most advanced conception of this offense. But that's fine and dandy when it's working. When break glass in case of emergency, and you got to go 4-5 wide, 3-4-5 wide, and just do something. That's where we're finding trouble, guys. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's where we're finding ourselves in trouble. And when you're in that situation with the playmakers you got, what else can we do? If you can't do anything when you are when your strengths are taken away and you're relied on bread and butter, simple tactics, simple game plan in hostile environments, if we can't show up, we're in deep shit, because guess what? All that window dressing, all that beautiful stuff goes out the window when the physicality and the rubber meets the road in late in the year and the playoffs. That's it, dude. That's it.
I agree, Cap.
We got to do something.
I agree 100%.
Though. We got to do something. And what is it? What is this something to do?
And that's all I was saying.
Well,
I wasn't saying dummy it down. I never said Tua was a dummy. I never said we were dumbing.
I don't know. That's not what you said privately, though. That's not what you.
I didn't say dummy. Stop.
That's not what you said privately. No, I'm kidding, Lou. I'm trolling. I'm trolling.
No. I know he's trolling nuts, and the fact of the matter is, I'm just making the point, right? In the scenario, and it's hypothetical. But we've seen coaches that have came from this staff, right, that coached together, They have got the job done with multiple guys. Is all I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? Like,
But you
we make it
also,
seem like two.
Lou, you also
There's a
have to
lot of
take into
people.
account, like when you're talking about like these other coaches. Not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but what you have to take into account, the examples that you brought up, your Jimmy Garoppolo's of the world, your Jared Goff's of the world, right? You know, yeah, they've gotten the job done, but also
Don't
look at
forget
the
Matt
rosters
Ryan.
that those
Don't forget
players.
Matt Ryan. Don't forget it, all the way back to when Washington had RG3. And I just want to point out I want to point out the correlation here. These offenses are super successful against a lot of opponents. And a lot of times they can get them to the playoffs. They can get it. Eventually, it's the power teams that then take away all that window dressing and make you beat them straight up that they all fail. It was the only reason that the Ravens won with this system is because of their defense. And it literally capped it off at the end of the game. They beat them with the sack from Aaron Donald. This is the plight. How do we tweak this system? And honestly, it's weird because to me, I felt like this team had almost the entirety of it, because not only were we putting up the passing yards, but the rushing yards. And I see a lot of power running coming out of this team too. The bottom line is you got to have a quarterback that can run this system with all its wrinkles and an offensive play caller that's going to know when's the right time to dial up those regular 3-man wide, one guy in the backfield, and an extra blocker on the line for you to just sit back, have the 3.5 seconds it's going to take for one of those 3 guys to get open downfield and dice them. That's it. That's what it's going to take. And until they can prove that, we're going to find ourselves wanting more from this team, from the quarterback, from the coach, from the defense, from everybody.
Well, in terms of like what we can do, right, to really attack the issue, right? I think for the most part, I think we can all agree, and we're talking about offensively, right? I think we're all in agreement that they're on the right path in terms of overall, right? And to your point, Cap, about tweaking, right? I think they've got the format down. Philosophically, I think they are right where they need to be, right? I think personnel-wise, they have pretty much, they got to get healthy, which is the most important thing. But they've got the personnel issue solved. They just have to get better and more consistent. Again, in those pressurized moments. And the only way you get better with anything in life, bro, is repetition. And they haven't, and again, we need this to happen sooner rather than later, because we all want to win the biggest, we want to win at the highest level. But the only way you get better at something is through repetition. And Tua, unfortunately, has not been in a situation from a playoff perspective to really know what that feels like. Game day in a playoff format feels like, right? McDaniel does because he coached last year. But again, he didn't have all his. Again, you didn't have your star quarterback. You had so many other guys out.
I don't like that, though, EM. I don't like that. If we're talking about him needing to get reps to then build up a callus to win in the playoffs, to win a Super Bowl, I'm not saying that you're wrong, because I've seen this before, and your example with Peyton Manning was very good. But damn, dude, like, you're talking just so much change happens between your players, your coaching staff. I mean, bro, we're going to lose guys on this coaching staff this year with the success. Bevel's going to get a job.
That's a real possibility, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
This is why you pay. This is why you're a head coach, right? This is normal NFL stuff.
And it falls on your GM as well, which
I agree.
Albeit, and I might be in the minority here, I have faith in Chris Greer to find the right guys and make the right moves between trades, between free agent signings. I'm not so faithful on the picks, because I feel like he defers on his coaching staff all too often, and they get tunnel vision with players that they want. I would actually like to see him be a little bit more aggressive and him make his picks, because we know of certain picks that he's put his foot down and made Tua Tagovailoa, Christian Wilkins being two of them, and Jalen Phillips and Jalen Waddle. Those are all 4 picks. He has said that those were his no matter what. No one was going to take those off the board, and all 4 have been really great. So I would like him to be a little bit more stern. Listen, I'm going to be closing this down, guys. I was only going to go for an hour. We're going to an hour and a half. Let's get some final thoughts on this. And before I do that, I'm going to end the poll. It ended with 133 votes. We've got over 160 in the room, only 72 likes. That is literally less than half the amount of the likes. Guys, please hit the like button. I mean, we don't ask for anything other than to hit the like button, maybe subscribe and share the video. The poll has ended, and the question was, if we're going to keep one, if Ross says we got to get rid of it, who are we keeping? Keep Mike McDaniel or keep Tua? 70% say keep Mike McDaniel. It's a tough question, man.
Wow, that is
really
crazy.
Look, that's the amount of goodwill that Mike McDaniel has instilled in the fan base.
No, it's just the haters are out.
The haters aren't out.
The wolf pack is in full effect. They wolf packing for show. They are wolf packing for show. But it's cool,
man.
It's cool.
To me, I feel like what I said is the reality. If you got rid of Mike McDaniel and brought in another person, you're losing the team anyhow, bro. You're losing the team anyhow. You would almost be better served changing at quarterback and keeping most of the team intact from the detractors who are really on Tua versus the latter. That's just how I see it. Let's get some final thoughts. EM, for yourself first. Go right ahead.
Yeah, gentlemen. Hey, salute to you, gentlemen. KP, Lou, Cap. I think, hey, man, I appreciate y'all having me up, bro. Anytime I get an opportunity to really talk, detail the game of football.
Up. I don't get to get on screen with you as often as we should, EM. I don't know why. I think you're scared of me. I don't know.
Hey. Well, Cap, we need to talk about that. We need to address that problem because I do think it is an issue, and we need to 2024 with that change coming.
Yeah, I like
what I mean. The new year, we need to talk about that. We definitely need to have that conversation
more.
We will. But yeah, man, always I got nothing but love and respect for all of y'all, bro. Y'all know that. We talk privately, consistently. We all have a good relationship off streams or whatnot, off the internet. But this is the topic today, man. At the end of the day, bro, this is not about, whether you like Tua or you're not. If you're an objective Dolphin fan, we should all look at this issue. And again, this is just not with Tua, but it's Mike McDaniel as well, because they're joined at the hip for the most part. This is an issue, man, going back to last year with McDaniel and going back to even in Alabama to some degree with Tua, that this issue about not being able to, be your best version of yourself in those high pressurized moments. And again, I'm willing to continue the investment in Mike McDaniel and Tua as a tandem, because I think if you evaluate the complete body of work between the two, there's more than enough positivity as opposed to negative, right? Tua's gotten better every year. McDaniel, I feel like, has gotten incrementally better from his coaching style, his situational coaching from last year to this year. So that's progress. And at the end of the day, that's all we want is progress, right? We want to be moving in a positive direction. And I think that's what we have, not only these two, but as an organization, bro. So at the end of the day, salute to you, gentlemen, for really, publicly initiating this conversation, because it is somewhat uncomfortable, because we know how pretty much,
I knew this is going to give us backlash just from the title.
100%.
And people that hate, that love to hook, line, and sinker and don't want to hear anything against him in any scenarios, they're going to come right for us, dog.
100%. We all know two and on exists, right? We all know the two and ears are, we all know how they move. So it takes a level of, cojones to really address publicly these uncomfortable conversations. So again, man, I want to reiterate, salute to you, gentlemen, for kind of getting this, initiating this conversation today. And hopefully, man, all we can do at the end of the day, bro, we just hope that they can develop and get better in these deficient areas, coaching as well as Tua's play on the field, and we can just hopefully they get better. They're better versions of themselves as a result of all of this. So at the end of the day, man, on to Buffalo. Listen, We got bigger fish to fry on Sunday, right?
Yeah,
we flushed that loss on Sunday. let's project as much positivity in our Dolphin universe as we possibly can. Hopefully we can the team can get galvanized, they can recalibrate, and they can be the best version of themselves on Sunday, because we got a division crown to win, gentlemen. We got a division crown at stake, and we got that
100%.
monster from Orchard Park coming in town. So, hey man, salute, gentlemen. Y'all have a good day.
Later,
till
man.
next time,
Appreciate
Cap.
you.
But yeah, we'll chop it up, Cap, real soon, bro.
2024 gonna be different.
100%. Salute.
Change is coming.
Change be coming, dog. Election year, all kinds of shit finna hit it. Look at Batman. To a frustrated team group, TFTG out in full force. This coming from the guy who's been hiding under the rock the last couple of weeks. We've been here, dog. We've been standing 10 tones down. In fact, I've been up kicking the episodes. Where you been, Batman? And can't find him nowhere. KP, Lou, let's give some final statements. Go ahead, KP.
All I would say is this. I mean, and again, it is a hypothetical question, right?
Yes.
Right. And you know, like Lewis said earlier, you'd be a crazy person to deny Tua's improvement in several areas, even evidenced in the loss against the Ravens. I mean, he was laser sharp on fourth down, the drop touchdown pass, the pass to Claypool. The guy is confident and making top level throws that a winning quarterback needs to make. We just want to see him make more of those in those critical moments. But if the hypothetical question is anywhere close to being just maybe 2% true, right? The way in which Tua insulates himself, protects himself from, the scenario of him being let go, potentially, that happens this week. He gives himself the biggest insurance policy if he comes out and leads us to a tremendous, swashbuckling victory against Buffalo. Even though we're guaranteed a playoff spot, the fans, I think we need to see our guy outduel a top quarterback and a top team and thrash them, and it be Tua's victory, where you could say, I mean, because when we beat Dallas, he had only one touchdown. It was almost an average game managing type of game, right? But we need to see Tua take the horse, but I don't even know the Cowboy terminology.
He could destroy every narrative.
That's right.
Sunday.
He has that opportunity this Sunday. That's it.
He has win, loss, draw. Tua comes out and lights the skies up, and it's going to be the greatest thing for not just us, but this franchise as well. Because we don't listen. These conversations are fun. It gets the haters out on both sides. We're willing to play the devil's advocate, and I don't care. I'll take the slings and arrows. I ain't shook. What y'all gonna do? Not a damn thing.
But just CB who's hanging
out. If I didn't have to have this show and conversation, I would love it.
We're back alive, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, KP.
Yeah,
Appreciate
no doubt.
You coming through, homie. Lou.
Listen, I think this show was needed. I appreciate the platform, Cap. I appreciate you. And these are the conversations that, whether they're easy or hard or whatever, listen, we had 170 in the room. People were engaged. They might not want to hear it, Cap, but they need to hear it. And that's the biggest message that I think this platform does, right? Like, we're not going to shy away from the tough conversations. We're going to bring it to you. And just like what Cap just said, we're here to take the slugs. Right, you're gonna punch us, but we will punch back, and that's just gonna be my final statement, Cap. I appreciate you and the platform. The show was great, and fins up to everybody else. So, what
up, man? Take it easy. Appreciate you, Lou. So, yeah, everybody, hit the like button if you haven't by now. You're probably not going to, and that's just dirty work, bro. That's just bullshit. I appreciate everybody coming through. Let me know in the comments at the end of the video what you guys think. Comments were going crazy. I tried to catch some here and there. Tell us some of the stuff you disagree with what I've said, with Lou, EM, KP. Anything you guys disagree with, put in the comments at the end of the video, and we'll get a chance to go through them and actually see what you guys think. Tua, Mike McDaniel, all this nonsense talk can go to end. All of it. This is nonsense. I agree. This show, but it's obviously engaging, as Lou points out. The nonsense talk people show up for because it's a hard conversation. If you, on one side of this argument, might say, this is ridiculous, you shouldn't have it, and on the other is finally somebody's having it. So it's obvious it was needed. hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. Appreciate everybody who got in chat, and don't forget to leave comments at the end of the video in the comment section. Fins up, everybody.